In this video, I'm going to cover how to create an orthographic projection and a 3D object in Sketchup. So what I'll be doing here is just covering the first block in your assignment over to the left-hand side. You should recognize this. And in Sketchup, what you should do is follow along and make sure you open up your construction documentation millimeters template. Everything will be in millimeters, and as you probably read on the assignment, since there are no dimensions given to you, we are going to assume that each of these blocks are 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters. So the first thing I want you to do that's very crucial is click on the front view. So hopefully you have the Views toolbar selected. When you click on front, we want to create everything in this top right-hand corner. So I'm going to use my pan tool and just kind of move this over. As long as everything is in between the blue and the red axis, we'll be fine. And what we'll do to start off with is we'll start by doing the orthographic projection somewhere down in this left-hand corner. So as you've created this already with pencil, it'll just be kind of a recreation using the computer software. So with an orthographic projection, what I like to do is start off by drawing the front view first. So on the front view of this guy, we know that's this one right here. So the front view, pretty easy to draw using our line tool in SketchUp. We'll just go up 10, over 20, up 10, over 30, down 20, and then back over 50. So hopefully I didn't confuse you too much there. So in SketchUp, use your line tool, and I'll start somewhere down here. So I'll actually, click again, sorry. Up 10. And if it creates it really small, you can use your scroll wheel to zoom in. You want to make sure you're zoomed in nice and close. Over 20. Up 10. Over 30. Down 20. And then close it off. So what you'll see here is your front view is created, and now we have to make sure that we're following the proper rules of orthographic projections when we create the top and the right side view. So if you recall from the lesson that the space in between the views, so in between those two and like so as I'm drawing, those have to equal the same. Okay, so that number, it doesn't really matter what you choose, but I'll give you a recommendation, and we'll use 20 millimeters. So using the tape measure tool now, this is a very handy tool, I want you to click on the top of your front view and go up 20, press enter, and from the very right side of the front view, go over 20. Now we'll know our starting points for our next two views. So if we create the right side view next, I can use my line tool. And I guess the other crucial part is the views have to line up. So the bottom of the front view has to line up with the bottom of the right side view. So as you can see there, I'm using the hover technique, so hovering over the endpoint and then going over to my tape measure line. Once it shows up in red, I can click once. And now I can start creating my right side view. So if I look over to the left again, I know that it's 30 millimeters. And then the height is 20. And then now I can just use the tape measure as a reference point and complete my rectangle. And then I can also create the middle line of the right side view, right there. So that's right in the middle. I can go up 10 millimeters, or I can use my front view as a reference and go over like that and complete like so. And lastly, when we create the top view, we can reference the top left-hand side of the front view, go up to our tape measure line, click once, and then start drawing. And it is 30 millimeters by 50. Close that off. And then we also know that it is We can reference this line down here and go up and create our last line. So that's how you create the orthographic projection. And if you can use the tape measure tool a lot more than I did too, especially on more of the complicated drawings. But this is the basic process I want you to follow when creating these in SketchUp. Moving on to creating the 3D portion of this object, what I want you to do is draw this 20 millimeters above your orthographic projection. So make sure that you stay on the front view initially. Click on your tape measure tool, and from the top of the top view, go up another 20, and this will be our starting point. Now there are many different ways to create 3D objects, and it doesn't really matter which way you do it as long as it turns out correct in the end. So I'll show you the one method I will use to create this particular one. So I'll reference the left-hand side of the top view so everything kind of stays in line, nice and neat. And I'm going to draw the front view again. So I'll just do that quickly. Now some of you are probably smart and thinking, well, why isn't he just copy and pasting the front view? And if you know how to do that, you could definitely do that from your orthographic projection. So I've created that front view. And then what I can do is use my scroll wheel on my mouse, so I'm pushing on the middle of it, and I'm going to orbit and rotate around until I see the back of this object. And then I'll use our 3D push-pull tool. Click once, click on the surface, and we know that the depth of this object is 30 millimeters, so at this point you can type in 30, press enter, and easy as that, you have your 3D object. So notice again how it's nice and neat, everything is nicely in line. For some of the more complex 3D objects, it won't be quite this easy, but I would recommend using the front view method on a lot of them, because usually the front view shows the most detail. You could also use another method of, actually I'll do it quickly on here. You could create the overall size of the object, so this is 20 millimeters by 50 millimeters, and then use your tape measure tool to create a construction line that's 30 millimeters. And then knowing that the cutout section is 10 millimeters down, you can go 10 millimeters down from the top. I could create a line from that tape measure line down to this one, and then across, and use my push-pull tool. Click once, and click anywhere outside of the object, and it will erase that section. So as I said before, multiple ways to create certain 3D blocks or objects. So use whatever method that works for you. A few other things I need to cover on this assignment. First being the space in between each of your drawings, I want to be 50 millimeters. So as you can see here, I've created a construction line using the tape measure tool that's exactly 50 millimeters away from the right side view of the first one. So every drawing that you create, you'll just create another construction line 50 millimeters to the right. Lastly, I want you to create a scene for each of the specific drawings. So what I mean by that is this. So for example, on the first one, what you will do is you will scroll in, so zoom in using your scroll wheel, and fill up the scene. And I'm also using the middle scroll wheel to orbit, so you can have a good view and good angle of that 3D view. And like I said, fill up the screen. So that looks good there. You can see the orthographic projection, and you can also see the majority of the 3D view. Then you're going to go up to View, Animation, and press Add Scene. And you'll notice a little tab appears up at the top. And then for the second one, I'll do it again. I can use my pan tool to move over, fill up the screen, orbit with the scroll wheel so you can see a good angle. When you're satisfied with that, again you go up to View, Animation, Add Scene. And what this does is, if you click on each of the scenes, it will automatically take you back to that particular drawing. So if I click on Scene 1, the camera will take me to Scene 1. If I click on Scene 2, automatically takes me to my second drawing. So do that for all of your drawings, and then you'll easily be able to access each of them when needed by the click of a button.